Shamati, Shamati, let us spread this light. Shamati, Shamati, we must all unite.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Young Group. This is our second session in the second semester, and today we're really going to have a lot of fun. We have two parts that we're going to cover. We're going to cover some things about the evil inclination and how to work with the good inclination over the evil inclination. What exactly does that mean? And in the second part, we'll review some more things about dissemination and what it means to disseminate, and we'll do a little fun little training session between us, and we'll talk more about that in the second part of today. Before we begin, I actually had a small little intention piece that I wanted to read for you. It's very small, but it's so sharp that I think you guys are going to really enjoy this one. This is from Rabash, a small little intention to start us off today. When he sees that his friends are at a higher level than his own, this causes him to ascend in every way. Isn't that beautiful? Once again, when he sees that his friends are at a higher level than his own, this causes him to ascend in every way. It's like one sentence that has like our entire work in it, just to constantly put the friends above us. Keep this in mind throughout today's session, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Before we jump into the text, into a little workshop to help warm us up, we have a little clip from Rob Lightman. Let's see the clip so we can. We don't have the clip yet. I'm sorry. We need a few more minutes to set up the clip, and in the meantime, let's see if we. Okay, so let's jump into the article then. We have a very interesting article for you today. Alex, if you don't have the clip, if you have the link that I asked, if you can share that link. Otherwise, I will just read it from this computer. And okay, so we have an interesting article for today that we're going to dive into. It's a little bit different than what we're used to, but it's still it's from the writings of Rabash. The article is called "Concerning the Debate Between Jacob and Laban." So it's a little bit different because it goes really into some commentary on the Torah and on the Bible and the story. This little back and forth going on between Jacob and Laban, and we're not always used to seeing things with a Kabbalistic interpretation. So it leads us through it. It gives us the story a little bit, and then it gives us the Kabbalistic interpretation of what exactly it's talking about, not between the bodies, but really on the level of desires. So it's a very it's not an easy article. Let's just say that. But we're gonna have a lot of fun with this. And what I wanted to do, I actually wanted to have somebody here to help me with the reading, because I think it's good that you guys are also do some of the reading and start participating in some of these roles, because this is really part of the process of growing up, as we know, is to take more roles upon ourselves. So here is the first part that we're going to be reading, and I will post it into the Zoom. Hopefully it will come and tell us. Okay, I'll need to post it in chunks because it's a big reading piece. Sorry. And who can we have to? So this is part 1, and then there's another paragraph here. Who can help us to read it? Maybe Mike? Mike, are you available? Can you help us to read some stuff? Okay, I think Mike it would be a good reader. He was actually the first one here, or one of the first ones here on the Zoom, so it really shows a good desire when a friend comes early and prepared. He really deserves this opportunity to bestow to us by reading this text to all of us. So Mike, as a reward for you, we want you to read for us today. So please go ahead.
All right, everyone hear me?
Yes.
We see that the debate between Jacob and Laban was different from the debate between Jacob and Esau. With Jacob and Laban it is written, Genesis 31, and Laban replied and said to Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, and the sons are my sons, and the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. With Jacob and Esau it is written, Genesis 33, and Esau said, I have plenty, my brother. Let what you have be yours. We should understand why Laban claimed that everything was his, and Esau said to the contrary, let what you have be yours. Bahasalam explained it in this way. It is known that there is the grip of the clipote, shells, peels, and there is the suckling of the clipote. He said that a grip means that the klipa, sin of the klipote, grips him and does not let him do anything in kedusha or holiness. For example, when a person needs to rise before dawn and go to the synagogue to engage in Torah, the klipa comes and tells him, why are you tormenting yourself? You're tired. It's cold outside. And other such arguments of the inclination that it is not worthwhile to get up and engage in work. He replies to it, as you say, but it is worthwhile to engage in this world in order to be rewarded with the next world. Then the evil inclination replies to him, you think that you will have your next world in return for your labor in this world? This is possible if a person engages in Torah and mitzvot for the Creator, but I know that you are doing everything not for the Creator. Therefore, whom are you serving? Only me.
Wow, huh? What do you guys think? This was some very deep stuff. These are some discernments, right? It's within a person. We're not talking about this external story of Jacob and Esau, in which we typically see, all these different Torah or Bible stories and such. But really, what's going on here is like an inner struggle within a person. That a person is trying to do something, and all of a sudden he feels a certain resistance. He feels that it's difficult. There is all of these justified claims and arguments that are coming up within him. He wants to do something towards the society, to go be together with the friends at a lesson, at a meeting, at a gathering of friends, something. And there's some kind of resistance that comes up. And here, Rabash really guides us beautifully through like the inner psychology of a person, of when he's beginning to experience these types of resistances, and how he begins to almost start to argue with it, or try to rise above it, and cannot. Well, it's a whole process. But in essence, what we want to do right now, I'm assuming that our breakout sessions are ready. If they're not, let me know.
There.
Okay, so we have the breakout sessions. So let's talk a little bit about this this evil inclination, this resistance to the work that comes up, and why specifically does the evil inclination begin only when we start investing into the group? Okay, into the group, into the 10, meaning before we start investing into the group, into our 10, what we have is not really an evil inclination. It's okay, we have a certain character trait, certain likes, dislikes, personality. We do things on the street towards people, sometimes nice, seemingly nice things, sometimes not so nice things. But none of this is really called the evil inclination. Only when we begin to work in the 10 with the friends and start to invest into that in one way or another, somehow to invest into it, then we reveal this thing called the evil inclination. And the question is why? Why specifically does the work with the evil inclination begins only when we invest in the group? Okay, so let's go into the breakouts. We have, let's say, 5 minutes for this workshop. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I guess because it's a phenomena that we're working with, we're exposing this contrast, expanding the Kli together, and because if we did it outside the group, it would just be a lot of fighting, and it wouldn't have a constructive purpose. We turn this into a good thing. And
okay, this question is very interesting, because the evil inclination is all the contrary that we are already learning in the group. It's all about making yourself big, making is the like I saw it like you are in a road and the evil inclination, your ego, the evil inclination put a little rock in the middle of the road, but your ego make this rock a huge big rock because yourself, my eye, making this little rock a big one by my ego. That's why we need the group to make me see that the problem at my ego and this rock is a little one, and together we can move it from the way.
I didn't hear the question, but I read the article when Mike was reading it, and the klipo, or the will to receive, the evil inclination that's revealed, says what? Why work for the next level of attainment when you can be just happy on the one you're at right now? That's what I heard come out of that. But what was the question? Anybody?
Basically, it's why is it only considered an evil inclination when we're dealing with a group, and it's not considered an evil inclination prior to coming to the group?
Well, they called it the klipot, the evil inclination, but they call it the ego as well.
Yeah, only in the group do we have a contrast where we see where we're trying to work in bestowal and trying to do something outside of that our natural way of being, and so only when we're rubbing against it through the group is it going to snap at us. Is it going to I guess come at us that way?
Yeah, and we have from Johnny, with the group, we are studying what the evil inclination is and how necessary it is to establish our part in creation, reception and bestowal, lishma and lo lishma. And I'll add, the reason we don't use that language outside of here is because people would be drastically offended and chased off. We know what it means here, but if you go telling everybody that their nature is evil, you know, it's not a good way to disseminate.
Well, you got to appeal to what appeals to people. And if, as long as we know that it's, gain for your own sake, that's, it's always the carrot and the stick there. There's no stick, just carrots. Should be easy.
Leonardo.
Mike says something very important, that this in the group is a way that we know and we realize that this is another more power force than the evil inclination. That there is in the union and in the group is a force that can beat the evil inclination, and it's a better way. The way we talk and the way we talk with each other is make me to see that this power of communion, of connection, is the only way to beat the evil inclination.
Meryl, do you have something to add?
The only thing I really see, I'm looking at what Johnny wrote, and this idea that reception and the evil inclination are necessary in order to have something to work on in the first place. First you reveal your distance from the right line, and then you move to it. So it's very important to have it in front of you and have it revealed before you reveal the creator.
Okay, welcome back. So it's really interesting, right? The fact that everything outside of the group is not really the evil inclination. Why? Because the evil inclination is only in the place that requires correction. What requires correction? What is the one thing that broke, that shattered? It's what requires correction is the connection between us. So when we're aspiring towards the connection between us, when we're aspiring to correct that, to come closer to one another, we're in essence we're in the process. We can reveal this thing called the evil inclination because we're aiming at the place that's actually shattered. And everything else that we do in life, there's the shattering was not in that. Meaning the fact that a person has certain desires in this life for food, sex, family, money, honor, power, all of these different desires. There is the shattering wasn't there, but the shattering was specifically in the connection. So that's where the evil inclination lies when we begin to start to come together to connect. So in other words, how can we define the evil inclination? We can define it as anything that's standing in the way of our connection. Meaning if we have the goal in front of us to connect, to reveal the creator in that connection, etc., and there's something that's standing in the way of that, we can call that the evil inclination. Meaning what? Meaning only if something is in the way, it's the evil inclination. And if it's not necessarily. The very same corporeal traits that we have, if they're not bothering that connection, then they're unimportant. We don't need to deal with them. But if they're getting in the way of the connection, we can see that as the evil inclination is popping up. For example, let's say I'm a lazy person by nature. And it's fine. I'm lazy. What can you do? This is the way I was created. But if we're trying to connect and we have a meeting and we set something in place and we're supposed to meet with the friends and we're supposed to connect, do something, and that laziness gets in the way of me making it to that connection, then this is already not just my own character trait, but that very same laziness that I have already turns into the evil inclination, turns into the thing that's preventing us from reaching the connection. So in essence, the evil inclination could be anything and everything that's standing in the way of our connection could in potential be the evil inclination. This is just, I want to give you like this textbook definition of what is the evil inclination. Let's move on. We have another paragraph that we want to read. Maybe...
May I ask a question? Just a question. It's
sure.
Really,
okay, go ahead.
When you say a group, is this just the group we have, the 10 group, not the group like when I go to work and there's a group there?
Yes. When we're talking about group, connection, friends, we're specifically talking about your 10. Now, in groups, we have groups all over the world, some physical, some virtual, and some have more than your 10, let's say. For example, in the group in New York, we have multiple 10s. So a group is a composition of many 10s, not just one. Or it could be sometimes that you only have one 10 and that's the entire group. But in essence, we're talking about specifically the group where there are these 10s and they're working on the connection together through the framework that we're talking about here.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, we have another paragraph. Adam, you available to read something for us?
Is it going to be in the chat, or do I need to look in the book?
Yes.
Yes,
in the chat.
I can do that.
Cool.
With this allegory, we can understand his words. This is the meaning of the grip of the Klippa, which does not let him engage in Torah and mitzvot. This was Laban's argument. Quote, "The daughters are my daughters, and all that you see is mine," unquote. That is, you are working for me and not for the Creator, so you cannot hope to have the next world. Hence, why trouble yourself for nothing? With this force, she grips a person and he cannot exit her influence and do anything against her will. This was Laban's argument because he thought that with this argument he would have the strength to grip him and he would be unable to engage in Torah and mitzvot.
Just giving us this picture in which we have this inner struggle within us. And we begin to have this inner struggle, this resistance towards the connection when we reveal it. And from what he's saying here, that it's such a struggle that a person usually cannot come out of it himself. that he cannot just fight his own evil inclination. He cannot just rise above it. So then what's the solution? How does a person overcome these arguments that come up? What does it mean to overcome it? Okay, this is the second question for our workshop. How does a person overcome these arguments, these inner arguments that are pushing him away from the connection, or making his intention a little bit more murkier, less clean, less towards bestowal? But he reveals all these things inside of him. And what does he do? How does he overcome it? And what does it mean to overcome it? Okay, this is the second question. Go ahead.
We notice this happening now as we get more involved, especially within our tens, and making commitments to come to these things. And the evil inclination obviously, blocks the path for connection. And I think the only way to overcome is just continue to show up. Let the group kind of fix it. Allow the light to fix it, and the creator. And that's the only thing that you can do, is drag yourself to the friends.
With your regular schedule and constantly contacting each other to give the link. I'm telling you, when we study, we go stupid. And for me, I always needed the link right in front of my face 5 minutes before the meeting, or I was confused. A regular schedule and having the links posted for the friends, and then actually asking them on Facebook or somewhere, where are they, that you care about them.
Yes, and I think the way to overcome it, how the questions say, is that the only way I know to reach the goal of the purpose of our life is to bestow. And this is the first argument that overcome that evil inclination to work with us, because the only true bestow, in my appearance, is the bestow that we are doing in the 10th, because it's a consciousness bestow with an intention. And this is the only way to overcome it, thinking about the intention of our 10th.
Am I supposed to be next, Adam? Okay. The evil inclination is revealed when a person attempts bestowal, and they find out they don't want to, they don't like to, can't do it. Why should they? These are the arguments that come to a person. But the thing is that it is revealed for a purpose. Next. What's that purpose, Mike?
I think, Merrill, maybe it's so that we can look and know that our friends are having that too, right? And look and see that we care about them, that they're coming, that they're overcoming those obstacles. And if we can look and focus on helping our friends to overcome their obstacles, which they have, by acting, by being there, by doing everything, regardless of how you feel, because it's not about you anyways. You can do it, then you, through your group, you can build that strength so that everyone can overcome the evil inclination.
Yeah, and Johnny adds nullification, and to allow the reforming light to correct us and to keep us participating. And I can add, it's Rabash says it in this article. It's the feeling of not wanting to do it, and everything that tells you it's a complete waste of time because there's no reward. That should be the indicator that it is something, like Merrill said, in bestowal, and you have to, know the friends that are going through that too. So you can ask the creator for the friends for that correction. Adam?
Yeah, you guys are getting to the heart of it. I was just brushing on the external stuff, but you're gonna feel better after that, after connecting. You're gonna feel that it was worth it. So we have to fight our ego. It's going to come up with every excuse to try to run away, especially if you have a really good connection. It's going to find a really good excuse, and you're going to pick on things that you disagree with and say, oh, that's the reason I should quit doing this. And we just, faith above reason, and each other. Hold on, talk it out.
Leonardo?
And maybe the evil inclination is saying, oh, it's an easy task because we don't have a material reward, a reward in this world. And this is what the evil inclination say, oh, I will do it very easy. But the strength of the spiritual matter is something that maybe is difficult to explain, but it's a great force. It's a force beyond all the expectations.
Yeah, there are a lot of expectations in spirituality. You think you're going to be a better person. You think you're going to get something out of it that's going to make you happy. There's all sorts of things. And none of those things are in front of you, really. So when this evil inclination comes up, it's the fact that your real nature is exposing itself. You don't look at it. It doesn't come up unless you try and be in bestowal. Otherwise, it's quiet. It's only when you try and do something for someone else that it objects. That is when Tim was exactly correct. You do not pray to correct yourself. You pray that you see the friends in love of friends. And they'll give you the power to overcome it. But that's what you go to right there. That's how you overcome it.
Okay, let's continue. By the way, if there's any questions that come up after a workshop question or round, feel free to jump in. We can take some questions. Otherwise, let's continue. Tim, can you read something for us? Okay.
But at once he overcame Laban's argument and said, "Not true. I do not engage for the Creator, but I must believe that you were sent to me with all the just arguments, only to veer me off from Kedusha. But I want simply to serve the Creator, and you have no grip on my Torah and mitzvah. This is why I overcome your and go and engage in Torah and mitzvah, and you have no foothold in me at all." At that time, the Klippa approaches in a different way. She tells him, "Look, is there anyone else like you who can overcome the evil inclination? Look at the lowliness of the rest of the people, and they have no power to overcome, while you, thank God, are the strongest among the men. It is certainly not good for you to join them." At that time, all his engagements fall into Klippa because she admits him into pride.
So some things to note. First of all, these are really beautiful discernments. Really, it's as if Rabash is standing within you and is able to see all these different things that you're going through and putting it down on paper. We're reading this right now. I'm really just enjoying the entire process, how beautiful it is. But some things to note. First of all, we have this thing where we fall into the pride, and there's also a chance that we can fall into pride and reach some kind of state of criticism. And criticism in general is not good in a Kabbalistic group. There are different levels of criticism, let's say. There's the external criticism of professionalism, let's say if we're doing dissemination actions and we want to do a good action, that's one thing. But then there's the criticism within a friend, towards the friends that we reveal, towards how we like them, don't like them, how we sort of have these things that are rejecting us from them. Meaning we don't, it's not good to share these types of things openly. So much so that this is really a great cause of harm and a big prohibition, something called slander, to talk negatively about a friend. So this is really one of those things that are not acceptable in a Kabbalistic society. The second you speak negatively about another person to someone else, then this is automatically goes into a person willingly and unwillingly, and it sort of disconnects him from that person. Meaning if you're disconnecting two people, you're pretty much robbing somebody of spirituality. So that's why this is a very grave thing that we could do, to speak negatively against a friend. So we need to be very careful when these types of states are awakened within us. It's one thing to feel it ourselves. That's fine. We're working with that. We have a certain resistance. We're still trying to connect above it, etc. And it's another thing to share that openly towards with others, and let them know that to share this type of criticism openly with others. Okay, so within us, it's one thing, we're working with it, but not to bring it out, because this is slander, or at least it could be slander. We still need to learn what exactly that means, but I'm just giving you in short that there are such states, and we need to be careful with them. Okay, now we talked a lot about this pride, right? In this last excerpt that we just read, there's certain pride that is evoked within a person. He feels better than all the others. He's studying with them. He's trying to connect with them. How could he be better than them? But still, there are these states along the path where you feel greater than the friends. Who are they? What do they know? Look how much I'm absorbing. I connect to the lessons. I hear Rav Lightman. I'm so great. There are these states. And the question is, how do we overcome the feeling of pride? Right? This feeling of pride we receive relative to the friends. How do we prevent this state from causing us to feel that we're better than everyone? Okay, so how do we overcome these feelings of pride, right? We're engaging in connection, we're investing into the society, right? If we weren't investing, we wouldn't get these types of states to begin with. Just as we said earlier, only when you begin to invest into the 10, into the society, then you can possibly reveal these states. Not necessarily, but possibly. So you invested into the society, you revealed such an attitude towards the friends, you have pride, you think you're greater than everyone. How do we deal with this? Okay, how do we overcome this feeling, and how do we prevent us from falling into the trap of feeling greater than all the friends? Go ahead. Workshop question.
Sure. I suppose it's hard but this is when you have to work, when you have to read, when you have to come to your friends and see their efforts and nullify yourself, and and what?
This is a tough one, because a lot of these states, I think that the initial phase is being able to recognize them. So the Kabbalists have laid out the path, and they let us know, hey, here's an indicator that's going to come up. You're going to feel very prideful, and you're going to feel like you have better discernment than the friends. You're putting more effort in than the friends. And once you recognize it, that's an opportunity for you to go back in to the books, put more into the friends. And really, I find it's whenever I feel this way, it's only a matter of time before I kind of get knocked off and or knocked back on to the right path. Adam?
Yeah, it's almost like one of the golden rules, because and then I have to tell myself over and over again, because when you're as great as I am, it's hard to be humble. And so there you go. The minute you think like that, I drop to the lowest degree. I'm below. I'm completely out. So even if it seems justified, and you're doing everything, and you've done so much, and you're the only one that seems to care and to greet people and to gather people or whatever it is, we still have to refuse to go there and to see them with faith above reason, that they're the greatest.
Yes, and it's also by the goal of the connection. If we think about the goal and the structure of the connection, we're going to start to realize that the pride is not working here. It's like the basic of the connection, I think, is the communication. Yeah, speaking communication, physical communication. And for the communication to if we try to make the communication, we need to lose this pride, because it's like if one goes to this connection and communication with a different, with your pride, you're on a different level. It's like we are something speaking English and something we're speaking Spanish and someone was speaking Japanese, and the connection is never going to be to realize it.
Very good, Leonardo. Johnny wrote, how do we overcome feeling states of pride? To keep connecting and participating with the friends, the Rav, and the books. Which, of course, that's fundamental 101. I look at this article and I see two parts to it. First part is what we all go through. If we put in efforts, if we receive, and we work in Torah and mitzvot and just receive reforming light, we are going to improve and become better than we were before. And our ego will grow as it's supposed to. So then, when it gets to a sufficient size, it can say, look how much better you are than everyone else. This is a natural progression of the ego that shows its head, and now it needs to be corrected. Because what does she, the Klippa, say not to do? Oh, don't go and join with those people who are certainly not good for you to join them. Because actually there is the answer. You can refuse, you can put up a screen, you can refuse all the things you gain from doing Torah and mitzvot and say, no, I am going to send that all to the Friends Way and they will take care of my needs. And that will short circuit that pride motion, because you'll be at their mercy, where you belong, where I belong. Right?
You know, Meryl, as you're talking about this connection, or the turning to your friends, and the connection comes in mind, and it's only in that connection that we can turn to the Creator, and through the group, with the group. And so if you just turn and say, I'm just going to work on the connection, even though I'm feeling so great right now, and then you can turn to the Creator as a group, and your desire for what you want will go to the Creator.
Okay. Let's continue a little bit. We have one more paragraph to read, then we'll close up with the first part. Maybe Merle, can you read for us?
I guess so.
Please.
Is it number 5 or S?
Yes, yes.
Okay. At the time, one should overcome and tell the Klippa, not true. I am no better than other people. Everything I did in Torah and mitzvot was not for the Creator. It was for you. So now I'm in a state that is, as our sages said, he who learns Torah lo lishma, not for her sake, would be better off if the placenta had been turned inside out on him. So now I am worse than the rest of the people. This was Jacob's argument when he said to Esau, take my gift, and I want to begin to engage in Torah and mitzvot anew. And until now, it is as though I never did anything for the Creator.
So these are some really beautiful states that we talked about today. Are really a lot of inner psychology of what we undergo on the path. And we really brought these up here not to make it seem like the path is dark and gloomy or anything like that, but to really show us some of the things that we can go through. First of all, we need to keep in mind that we're not trying to awaken these states on purpose. These states happen to be occasionally the result of the work in connection. Meaning, if we're focusing on connection, occasionally such a state like this can happen. And for us, on our part here in the young group, everything we're going through, we need to learn how to work with this. We need to be very practical. This can happen, and we need to know how to work with it. So the takeaway from today's session number 1 is that the result of connection occasionally results in us revealing this evil inclination, and we need to know how to balance it. What do we do? right? We reveal certain states. What do we do afterwards? It's really the same process all over again. It's like we're leaning towards one side, we get thrown to the other side. So once again, we need to start investing into the connection, regardless of how I feel, into the connection, into the friends. We could turn to the friends for help, right? This is a really big thing. This is why we have these tens that we're working with, because so we can help one another, and specifically in these types of states. And through helping one another, everybody advances. Because anything that happens in a 10 doesn't happen to me individually, but it happens to the 10. And the fact that we're helping a friend who maybe has some kind of state that may be difficult at the moment, we all advance from this. So we need to remember this, and we need to help one another. We need to think of one another and pray for one another, and do these types of mutual actions, so that there will always be this blood flow, so there will always be this flow that we're moving from state to state and constantly advancing. Okay, so this is the end of the first part. Maybe if there's time for one question, we could take something short, but we really want to start with the second part. So if there's anything quick you guys want to ask about from what we covered so far? Okay, well, so let's jump into the second part. In the second part, we're really going to have a lot of fun. We're going to do something very different. We're talking about dissemination, and we already talked about some of it in the previous lesson. In fact, I know there was a little exercise that was given to you, like a take-home exercise of you were trying to address a certain message without using the Kabbalistic terms. Does anyone first of all have any impressions after doing this take-home exercise? Let's maybe take like a minute right now to hear some impressions from the exercise.
We found out how difficult it is to do, and the things other people can come up with to say no. And the difficulty is in not using any Kabbalistic terms. On the other hand, it made me feel a little better, a little more able to disseminate.
More impressions from the exercise?
I think it was a good tool for us to learn how to criticize kindly, because as we were asked to point out if there was anything that may not have been the best approach, we also learned how to say that to one another with still great respect and in a very positive way. So all in all, it was a very good thing for all of us, I think. Next.
Nice. Anyone else have an impression?
I think it was a lesson in when actually going out to people outside of the group after practice, that to have patience and not expect many results at on the outset, but just plant a seed, and then let your attitude and the changes you're going through maybe bring them curious to you.
Okay, very nice, Carol. It's interesting because that's what we're going to talk about a little bit more about today, how just this process of maybe planting a seed or just coming in contact with somebody could really be all that is needed in order to pass a dosage of light between you and the person you came into contact with. And today we'll see how do we practically do this. Is it necessary to even speak? Maybe yes, maybe not. But we're gonna do a few exercises together. They're gonna be little simulations of a real life experience that we can undergo. Let's say we're walking through a street and we bump into some old friend that we haven't seen in a while. And we say, hey, how are you? Hey, what's going on? Hey, maybe we can grab a cup of coffee, see what if we can catch up. Yeah, let's just take 5 minutes. Or maybe we're just standing there in the corner just talking for a few minutes to each other about how are things with you, what's going on with you, etc. And all of a sudden there's a dialogue that takes place. So is there room in that interaction to maybe pass along some of these things that we're learning? Obviously, without mentioning any of the terms of Kabbalah, and really dressing it down to this world. Meaning, at the end of the day, what is it that we're learning? We're learning that connection is the source of, is the is the solution to everything, right? Because there was a shattering in this common soul of Adam Harishon, and because of that, all our work is to reach connection. When we reach a connection, we draw a certain light upon us, a certain positive influence, and from that we feel that all of a sudden life is better. We're, in our words, we could say we're advancing towards the goal of creation, towards revealing the Creator. But in essence, even on a corporeal level, a person who's engaged in connection will experience positive changes in life, right? So how do we dress this, really the exact same message of what we're learning into like this everyday conversation that we could just bump into someone and we have maybe a few minutes to talk to someone. This is what we're going to do right now. So how is this going to work? First of all, this is a real-life simulation. So we're not going to do it in our tents, but we're going to do it in pairs. And the pairs are going to be random. Men and women are mixed. Like I said, it's a real-life simulation. You don't just, the men don't just bump into other men, I think, and the women into other women. So it's going to be, we're gonna really try to make it as this real-life simulation. We're gonna break you out into breakout rooms. Each room will have 2 people. And in the room, you will have the opportunity to have this type of dialogue. I'll give you a little bit more information here. So you meet incidentally in the street. You're very happy to see each other, and you decide to sit in a coffee shop. Everyone can picture this type of thing for themselves, this character that they bump into on the street. And while you're sitting there, you're talking about something, and this person that you're speaking with is bringing up something that's bothering him or hurting him, or some kind of problem he has in life. Okay, just bringing it up, like, if I was to bump into someone, it would probably be something about kids. Nowadays people like to talk to me about kids. The kids are in school and they're learning all these bad habits, and I don't even know what to do with them. So now you're on your end, you're studying Kabbalah. You're not revealing that you're studying Kabbalah, but you're trying to relate to this through the wisdom of Kabbalah. How would you throw into there how connection really can resolve everything? How would you just plant that seed, as Carol said? So this is the scene. Everybody choose a certain image of what they're going for. And when you're in the breakout rooms, one person will first take a turn and play the person who is studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, and he'll ask the other person to play a certain image of somebody, and you guys will do a little skit together, right? And then after 3 minutes, you guys switch roles. Okay, so we'll give you about 6 minutes in the breakout room to try out this type of interaction. Here, don't worry about passing, the perfect message. Obviously, even in real life situation, so we don't always say the right things. It's fine. We learn from our mistakes. We learn from what to say, what not to say. Don't worry. Don't be so nervous. Just play this exercise. Let's see if there's anything else. That's it. Let's try it out. So you have about 6 minutes. Don't forget to switch in the middle of 3 minutes. Switch roles. Then the other person will be the one who's studying Kabbalah, and you exchange the roles between you. And then we'll hear some reflections. Okay? Before we jump into the breakouts, anything that needs to be clarified about this exercise?
Will you let us know the 3-minute timing, or should we monitor it?
You should monitor it. I don't know if I have the ability. If I do, I will. Otherwise, you should monitor on your end. Okay? Go ahead.
Hey, Mike. So what are we supposed to do?
So one of us is supposed to be someone who's just not studying Kabbalah, has some problems in their life, and one of us is supposed to be a student of Kabbalah that knows that connection can fix anything and everything, and try to communicate that somehow. I'll start being I'll just be just your friend on the street. So my children are really challenging, and they can't seem to learn the manners that I try to teach them, and I don't know how to break through to them.
I've heard of a lot of games that you can do with your kids and with groups of people that help. They don't even know they're learning, that help teach them how to get along with each other.
What is the purpose of those games? Like, what are they doing?
They teach them the value of connection with one another and how to get along with each other. Kind of how to see each other as good, and instead of seeing the bad in each other, to see the good in each other.
And so it's like just they do game by themselves, or they're doing games with several people. That's what it's gonna be like.
Well, you can do it. There's places you can go where there's other people that practice these. I guess they call it integral education. They're teaching it in schools and in other places like nursing homes, wherever people get together. It helps them be happier when they're together. And it helps the parents and the children get closer too. They can resolve their communication problems in different ways, and maybe get away from the television or the mobile device for a few minutes or an hour.
Adam, I think that was a 3-minute rollover, so we switch roles now.
Okay. Oh my God. I'm not making any money. My wife won't let me do this and that, and not spiritual at all. And they're watching all these horrible things in the house on my TV, and on the internet and the deep web, and just the world's falling apart right in front of my face, and I'm kind of like on the edge of despair. Everybody I know and see around me has been in and out of the criminal justice system, and they can't escape it because it's designed to keep them there forever. And I just see despair everywhere I look.
Yeah, it's the way the world seems to look a lot of times to us. But they're doing studies in all around in sciences, and they're finding that happiness can be found in people coming together and working together towards common goals and connecting with each other. And these are all kinds of sciences in neuroscience. You can go to see all kinds of different things, but the point is that happiness isn't going to come, as we all know now. It's not going to come from how much money you have or what place you get in society or whatever, But they're finding that happiness can be found in groups and working with people and connecting with people above your differences.
Well, a lot of my friends are miserable, and I've always tried to rise above and be happy, have a positive attitude and stuff like that. But it's just overwhelming right now, the amount of people showing up in my life that are on the edge of, survival. How can they even think about happiness, and they don't even know, what they're going to do to survive. I live in the poorest county per capita in the state of Florida.
Well, that's a challenging thing to overcome if you're trying to do it all by yourself, for sure. But if you can find a way to connect and come together and do it in a positive environment that is only about reinforcing each other positively, then solutions can come as you are able to connect above your differences. You might be able to come up with a solution you never could have by yourself, and maybe you can even solve those problems.
Well, I need something I need something to get away from this, to stop thinking about this world's overwhelming me, you know. I need some kind of way fix it.
We're all back now.
They're back.
You have problems too. I can resolve it.
Leonardo didn't even pick up the tab for the coffee.
Thank you, Johnny.
I think we need more time for this.
This is in real life. How many minutes would you have? I mean, if you bump into an old friend, usually you're running into one direction, he's running into a different direction. It's very rare that you have more than really 2-3 minutes to speak to someone you're bumping into on the street. But yeah, you're right. It could also be that there are different cases. Let's hear some reflections of what was it like? Were you able to portray something? Do you feel that do you feel that you needed to add something in order to convey the message in a more successful way? Let's hear it, but not more than like 1 or 2 sentences from each person. Just a little reflection of what we just went through. Well, we could do it right here in the general room. So give us some reflections. What was it like for you?
You know, luckily I was paired with Leonardo, and he did an unbelievable job of asking the right questions that kind of drew the right answers and right responses out of me.
More? Nice.
Yes, I think I have a new psychologist. No, this was nice. First, in the beginning, it was difficult. But when you start to speaking and to get confidence and to start to thinking how to do it, the things are making easier and easier.
Yeah, and
go
ahead, Meryl.
No,
please go ahead.
Forget it, Mike. You go.
It's just real quick. It's sometimes even the words happiness and connection. You had to find a way to connect it to the world. Even those words weren't enough to do it. You had to connect it a different way.
I found it was a little frustrating to try and convey to what they were saying instead of my just saying, oh, you know, there's a great way, a different way of connecting, and not have it come out like maybe as a criticism. It's very difficult in a scenario situation. I think it's almost.
More impressions? 1 or 2 more?
Yeah, with Matilda and I, it was almost like we were trying to figure out how to do this between each other. And that was as good as anything. We had to actually connect with each other to even figure out how to play these roles between each other. I like that. That was good, Matilda.
I was with Carol and used a real event of the day and hit her with that. But what I saw in her choice of wording was such a genuineness. And again, not going anything near anything Kabbalistic, just gentle words of encouragement, but truthful words taken from what she's learned in Kabbalah so far. Very, very nicely done, Carol, whether you think so or not. It was good. It was very good.
I think the 4 key points that Zohar gave us helped me a lot. in what to say.
Okay. Yeah. One more.
Well, I
Please.
just wanted to say that Katya was my partner. She was really masterful, and I just had not thought of hardly anything that she said when it was her turn to be the person involved and on the friend she's bumping into. And I just thought that it was great because she approached it as like she's approaching me for more personal time with me. She wasn't leading up to a group. Like that's where I went and immediately. Like I was like, oh, and I don't want to impose myself. I'm doing all this. But she didn't do that. It was all about, we should spend more time together. That, connection is really important. And I just thought that was a nice personal touch. Who wouldn't, who wouldn't want to be invited into something like that? I just thought that was great that Katya did that.
Very nice. Okay. Cool.
Good.
Okay, let's continue a little bit. So we saw it wasn't easy. There were some difficulties here and there, and there's actually a lot of preparation that goes into any action of dissemination, externally and internally. So today we'll talk a little bit more about these things of what do we do when we go out to disseminate. How do we make our message be not even in the words that we're speaking, but on a more internal level. How do we pass the message on a more internal level? So we have a few advice that we heard from Rav Lightman in one of his New Life episodes. These New Life episodes are really, he does exactly this. He talks about everything that everything that he knows or everything he's attained in the wisdom of Kabbalah, but not through the words of Kabbalah, but he really, really brings it down to our world as much as you can possibly, as much as you possibly can. So in one of these New Life episodes, he gives us this little approach to these types of interactions. He gives us like a 3-step approach. In the first step, he says you need to identify the source of the problem. And we know the source of the problem, lack of connection, right? We know that this is from the shattering. All the problems come from the shattering. Meaning if we were to be better connected with other people, there would be no problems in the world. Literally, there wouldn't be these problems that we experience right now. So what is the main solution to anything and everything? Connection. Even things that we could directly see have these type of influence. Still, right now, you see scientists are also saying the same thing. They see that they say there are these interesting studies of I don't remember exactly what was the name of the studies, but there was like these people that research data and how it interacts and stuff like that. Anyways, they have this research on connection in which they show that our social circles, even if we're not directly connected to people, they still influence us somehow. Maybe not 100%, but still 30 or 50 or 60%. There's some kind of an influence there. Meaning what? Meaning connection. One way or another, these connections are influencing us. And they even have this interesting study that if someone picks up smoking, if a friend of a friend starts smoking, chances are that you don't even know this person. But a friend of a friend, you have a chance of starting smoking yourself like 40 or 50%, something like that. There's a lot of interesting data out there. So what am I trying to say? At the end of the day, everything is in the connection and everything is resolved in the connection. So step 1, to identify the problem, we know it's the lack of connection. The second step is to raise the deficiency. How do we correct these relationships? Right? We all try to find some kind of solution for all these different problems we have in life. But we see from experience that people don't really know the answer to any of life's major problems. There are people all over, all these politicians and scientists and doctors spending, hours and hours and lots of research to fix so many things in life, but it seems as if they don't have the solution. And this is really the second step, to feel this deficiency, the need for connection, the need for the solution. And in the third stage, it's to really talk about our method, like we were saying, from the place of confidence. It's really to bring down the method as really the way we feel it, when our point in the heart awakened and we came to the wisdom of Kabbalah and we're like, this is the greatest thing ever, right? Every single one who was ready to for this whole world to burn, as long as they can study Kabbalah and reveal the Creator, right? This is the confidence that we have when we reveal the wisdom of Kabbalah, when we know this is it. This is exactly what we've been looking for our whole lives. We need to speak from that point. So these are some of the things that the Prof mentioned, some of the important things in this one of these New Life episodes. But there's more. There's more of this connection, this internal light that we can pass along to people when we go out to disseminate. Now we have a clip. I hope it's ready. Clip number 2, Alex, that's going to speak exactly about this from the connection with our connection in R10, we can somehow disseminate that light of the need for connection, the light of the Creator to others. So let's play the clip, and then we'll come back and we'll continue.
So what is this whole point of disseminating to people that don't have the feeling of a lack? They don't lack the Creator. It has to be lacking in you first. It's not enough? You're saying again? I'm saying seriously. First of all, you do dissemination so that you will have a drive to turn to the Creator. First of all. Secondly, the moment you will have a connection with these external people, that's one thing. The other thing, you receive a deficiency from them. This deficiency obligates you to turn to the Creator. You'll see how much this will obligate you. So you already have the ability to make a connection between the Creator through you to the people. The people will do the connection so that they'll have a good corporeal life. But because the connection comes from you and all that you're organizing, so in your dissemination to Him, in the people, you will have also an illumination there. That illumination will start changing them. They'll start to want, also on their own, to belong to connection, to arvut, to being together, all kinds of such types of connection. All of Israel, our friend, love thy friend as thyself, they will start to respect these things. From where? From the surrounding light operating on them. How will it be operated? It'll be operated by you engaging in them. And you, from the connection in the group and the Creator, you have the surrounding light. You'll see this in practice. There's no... It's not like it's virtues or something that you won't see completely.
So it's interesting how we go out to disseminate. First of all, we think that we're trying to pass a certain message to them, but in the end we feel that this is actually forcing us to connect. We feel that we go out to disseminate and we can't really succeed much without our own connection. What can we possibly pass them? We can preach about connection all day long, but if we ourselves don't have that connection, we have nothing to influence them with. So dissemination is really multifaceted in this way, that from one point of view, yes, okay, on a small level, we're passing along some kind of knowledge about the importance of connection, but on another level, we are coming in contact with them, and we ourselves, as a result, are receiving a need for a stronger connection with our 10. So we can pass the message better. So we can have more of something that we can pass to them. More light that through us can pass to them. And then we can come back to the 10 and we feel an even greater need for connection. So it strengthens our need for connection. And these two things really work together. So at the end of the day, we feel that dissemination is really vital to our advancement, because from that we get a real need for connection. It's like parents or it's like a couple that when they have kids, they feel the need, how can I say it? Having kids turns them into parents. It turns them into someone who's even more connected. It really gives them that type of responsibility. So when we go out to disseminate, we get the responsibility to connect even more, to be like like the parents, the ones who are responsible for them, who are doing this work in order to pass it onwards. And this is something very important. Now, there was an interesting point here about going out with a connection and going out without a connection, meaning from one point of view, we go out just to go out, but then from another point of view, when we have these connections, with strong connections between us, people just feel it. People just feel there's something there, something's going on. I can't quite put my finger on it, but even without the words, people can feel it. And there's many times in let's say in a group in which you do actions of dissemination, and you feel these differences, where an individual goes out and he tries to do something with the public, or I don't know, maybe a simple action of just handing out a newspaper or a flyer. That's one thing. And then when he does the very same action from the connection from the 10, or maybe even together with the 10, that the whole 10 is doing this common action together, and it feels like all of a sudden it just flows better. It's just easier to speak or to hand something out or to do some kind of an action. There's just like this flow. And this is really the power of our connection. So the stronger that we're connected, the more successful is our dissemination. And if we're not connected, our dissemination, there's still some success there, but it really forces us to connect even more. So this is what we're going to do right now. We're going to try to connect even more. This is the goal. This is part of dissemination, meaning the stronger the connection, the better we can disseminate. So let's do a little workshop in which we describe to each other what is the center of the group. Okay, the place of connection, the center of the group. What is this place where we're all connected? Okay, and where is that the feeling of the force from the connection awakened? What is that center of the group? Where is that place of connection? So let's get into the breakouts right now, and once again talk about exactly that place of connection. What is it? Where is it? Where is that feeling that we're trying to generate? This place of connection. Okay, go ahead. We're gonna do this one quick, maybe 3-4 minutes. So jump to the breakouts, and then 3-4 minutes, and we'll jump back out.
I know that what we have in common, we have the goal. We have our goal together in common, and that is to come to love.
Yep. When he talks about the center of the group, I don't know where it's at. It's obviously beyond space and time, but it's a feeling, I guess.
A feeling of connection, of love, hopefully bestowal. The goal, desire for the goal, mutual desire for the goal, mutual desire to change the way we see things and experience life.
The mutual benefits. I think how I can benefit the other in the connection of the other. If it's a person to person, how can I benefit the other? And the other needs to start thinking about the benefit he receives and the benefit he can give.
Center of the group is the place that keeps us connected. In other words, I don't connect directly to Tim, to Mike, to Adam, or to Leonardo, or Johnny. I connect to the center of the group, and the center of the group connects to you. We put the Creator in between us, and that's what we connect over. It gives us a common center that we all agree on, that Creator needs to be revealed. So for me, that's how it goes. If I don't, I'm using my ego to try and help you guys, and that will mean that I can't do it, because it'll be like that reading. You know, I'll be in pride then. I need to just say, no, the group will provide, and I'll provide for the group, and try and stay one step removed.
Yeah, and Meryl, Johnny added to that is the point where we are all equal and outside of each other's own self-love, where we just feel like all one.
It's an abstract thought, but this can be revealed just through this workshop. I mean, the feeding off each other, trying to get into a flow and a rhythm with one another.
To the point where we lose ourselves into the circle, into the friends, and we don't really worry about ourselves anymore. The ego kind of goes behind us, and together we start to reveal the Creator as we merge as one.
And it's also important to have the feeling of unity, the feeling that we are together, that we are one, and the part that is inside a person, a one body, is the soul. That we are need to feel that the soul is inside of us. The soul of the 10 is the extreme column vertebral of the group and of the connection.
So it's beautiful that we can reach such a connection right here and right now, but we also need to hold on to that connection if we want to use that connection in order to be, a passage of light or the ability to influence others through that connection. We need to hold on to one another. And here we have some words from Rav on specifically this. He writes, when you talk about it, you didn't yet explain the method itself. Right, when you're talking, let's say, to someone externally, he already feels that you have an internal force, though he may only think that it is you being convincing, but you're already operating on him because you're talking from the center of the circle, because you're talking from warmth and connection between friends. You become not you, the body, rather it is that force of connection that you're now appealing to someone with, to some individual, and it is as if you swallow him in the force of connection. There are many here, and
I can almost pick up from where I left off. Being in the center of the group, being one step removed, I can promise you guys that I will be thinking of that center of the group, and you can draw on it all day, every day, and because I'm constantly going to be adding my thoughts to it. Next.
Yeah, Marilyn, we can show each other that by reaching out to each other, by getting together on Zoom, and by just showing that we're putting time and thought into each other so that it reminds each other.
When I think about the friends, I always think about the Creator. So I'm always thinking that you guys are always considering me, and that sparks that envy where it makes me want to contribute. So as soon as I'm reminded, I try to send a message on the Facebook or the WhatsApp or whatever, just to keep the engagement alive.
Yeah, even when I get kicked out of Zoom from my internet connection, I'm still thinking about the friends all the time, and they keep saying to think about the friends, and I find that the more I do that, the more that this technique of finding spirituality works. So it is the only thing that ever has a 10 and tries to connect us in this manner. And so I got to think of you got to think of me, and together we achieve the goal.
And sometimes it's difficult to explain, but since I started 10, always it's something behind reality, behind our sense of of reality that looks like I always feel like we are thinking each other through the day. I don't know why, I don't know how to explain, but I have the feeling that we have a very good connection through the day because we are thinking about each other. And I know that you are thinking about me and I thinking about you. I don't know why I know it that, but it's a new sense that one start to have.
You're right about that, Leonardo. I'm thinking about you all the time, man. Johnny wrote, I think this is his whole thing. It's the point where we are all equal and outside of each other's own self-love, where we just feel like all one. Liken it to each one of you is an organ that makes this body work in such union. Everything I am going to do, I shall think that it's you and him showing himself. NEBH. Well, there you go, Johnny. It is like we're an organ, and this 10 is a living being that we've created between us. It's here to look out for all of us, and we're here to look out for it. You know, the 10 is there waiting for you to draw on it. Somebody comes with a deficit, like the Rod said, you know that you have the power of the rest of us behind you available to you right now through spirituality, which has no time or space limitations. We don't have to be in physical contact. It can just come when you remember that it's your baby that we're created here. You're part of it. You're a living part of this 10. We all are. Mike?
Yeah, I think that as we try to do that, and we feel that, and we remind each other of that. We can't, even though we feel it all day, every day, we do have to remind each other of it, I think. And I think that as we do that, that's the love that we're going to evoke. That's what we're looking to try to evoke.
Okay, so what are we taking away out of today's session? Let's do a little reflection. What did we go through? What are we taking out of this? Go ahead right now in this in the General Assembly. What did we go through? What are we taking out of this?
To carry the warmth of the group with you and make it available whenever someone is there with a need in front of you, and try to share that with them.
Not all at once.
To
How
know
important
that
dissemination is, and because if we can disseminate and bring the light to more people will be happy and positive. Sorry, Kathy, go ahead.
Thank you, Linda. To know that both the internal and external dissemination, it's a sure thing because the Creator has already purposed for this. That is so comforting. Next.
I think we found that our 10 is like a living being. It's our soul that was deciding to serve us at a moment's notice whenever we need it.
More impressions?
To realize that there is a naturalness in all of this that we all are going to experience. Next.
That the words don't matter as much as your genuine desire to bring the light to the person you're disseminating for.
Exactly. That maybe there's an idea of responsibility here that's coming out.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think underlying everything we did today, there is a growing sense of responsibility as a Kabbalah student, more and more that this is not just something we do to pass some time or to get smarter or something like that, but it implies and connotes a responsibility to each other and to the world and to the Creator. It's far beyond what we thought it would be at first. We have to be responsible too.
Very nice. And there's, of course, there's mutual benefit when we go out to disseminate. There's the benefit to those that we go out to, and we're able to pass the light to them. And then there's the benefit to us that we feel the greater need for a connection with our 10. So it's really a win-win situation. So part of there is a certain task, almost like a take-home task, but it's optional. It's optional if you want to give it a try to do what we went through today, the little, bumping into somebody, an old friend or an acquaintance, and you sort of try to bring into there the importance of connection into the conversation, somehow how connection can resolve everything and make life really much better. If you want to give it a try, give it a try. If you're in one of these situations, it's not a must, but if you want to give it a try, go ahead. And if you do wind up giving it a try, share with us your impressions next week. And that's really it for today. I think it was a really great session. We actually, I think we're missing some people. So if you guys have some kind of a connection with your 10, it's a good opportunity to reach out to the friends if they don't make it to a lesson or a gathering to see if they're okay, right? This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect. We're trying to build this connection of love between us. So if you notice that your friends are missing, reach out to them, see if they're okay, see if they need anything. Maybe there's a way that you can help them. So next time we'll have everybody here with us. So thank you guys for being here. Really, this was an amazing session, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good night, friends. Love you all.
Shamati, Shamati, let us spread this light. Shamati, Shamati, we must all unite.